Hey guys, William Mayette, creator of JAZZEDGE, and I just wanted to give you a quick preview of what we're going to be talking about in my new Standards by the Dozen course. So if you're interested in this course, I'm going to give you a link. It's going to be you're going to be able to get some free training that's going to be happening on this Friday. So let's go through and I'll explain it to you. So first of all, the free training is going to be this Friday, January 15th at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you're interested in joining me, just follow that link at the bottom there, jazzedge.com/SBTD, Standards by the Dozen. All right, so let's talk about what makes this course so special. Well, first of all, we're going to be answering these questions, right? These are the questions that I have gotten for years. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I've been online for 20 years. I've been teaching, Berkeley grad, toured, written books, all of that good stuff, played South by Southwest Festival. So I know what I'm talking about, and I have students all over the globe, and I've been doing this a while, and I've really iterated and figured out what makes it, what's an easier way for you to be able to get success at playing standards. Questions like this: how do I play a lead sheet? You know, how do I accompany myself? How do I back up a singer? How do I work with a group? You know, how do I improvise over standards? This is what this course is going to be all about. It's going to be taking all the ideas that I've been working on for literally decades, and it's all culminating into this course, right? So a lot of stuff really jam-packed. What skill level should you be? Is it okay for absolute beginners? Yes. There's going to be some easier stuff with the lead sheets and, you know, the simple melody stuff. That stuff will be easier for beginners, like when I do the shells and the melody. And then the rootless chords, improv, that kind of stuff is going to be more intermediate to advanced level. So if you're an absolute beginner, yes, there'll be stuff in there for you. However, if you're more intermediate to advanced, don't worry, there's going to be plenty of stuff for you as well to really be able to take your playing, you know, and up your playing. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to be covering. Number one, we're going to be talking about lead sheet reading. So how do you just take a lead sheet and then start to create an arrangement? Number two, we're going to be doing our melody along with shells. That's going to be your basic arrangement. So just how to get a quick arrangement of you know, of a lead sheet, all right, without having to spend too much time to try and figure out all the ins and outs. Just create that quick arrangement. Number three, we're going to be doing the rootless chords. Now, for those of you that know rootless chords, you know there's a lot of rootless chords, and it's sometimes difficult to figure out, how do I practice this stuff? This is the way to practice it. When you apply your rootless chords to standards, you are so much more likely to be able to actually remember, recall, and play them accurately because you're applying them to actual real progressions. Just going around the circle of fifths ain't gonna cut it, because guess what? Songs don't follow the circle of fifths or circle of fourths all the time. They move into all different key centers. So applying your rootless chords to actual standards, that's the way to master them. Number four, bassline creation, right? So if you want to be able to play a melody and do a bassline, we're going to be talking about that and talking about how those basslines are created. Number five, two-hand comping patterns. This is another big one that students are always looking for. That's what gives you the, you know, how to accompany yourself, how to accompany a singer, how to work in a group, accompany a soloist. So, you know, like if you know your chords in your left hand, well, what do you do in the right hand? We're going to be talking about that. And then finally, improvisation. All right, so how do we take and improvise over these standards? So let me give you some, you know, different, you know, examples here in just a second. And let me remind you that a new standard is going to get released every month for all of 2021. That's why it's called Standards by the Dozen. There's going to be a dozen standards. So the month of January, we're going to be going through the Days of Wine and Roses, and then we're going to move on February, March, and so on. All right, so here's an example of some of the sheet music, and we're going to dive into this with much more detail on Friday, so be sure to register and be sure to join me for that free live training session, okay? It costs nothing to come on Friday to that live training session, and I guarantee you're going to learn some stuff on that. So, simple lead sheet, right? So, like being all right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to put on, our iReal Pro here as well. I got iReal Pro backing tracks for all of the standards by the dozen. So then I'm going to show you, well, how do you take this and actually do something with it? Right, so how do you make it so that the melody is not just flat? Right, just sounds a little bit flat. So we're going to be talking about different ways in which you can make that melody sparkle a little bit more. Second thing, we're going to be talking about shells. Let me just go ahead and play it so you can hear what that sounds like. Right, now the shells give you a real nice quick arrangement of the song, and it gives you a perfect bass that then we can build off of that bass. Now, those of you that already know my lessons, you know that how we use these shells, we can incorporate these shells along with other concepts to really start to build out our arrangement and two-handed accompaniment patterns. So shells are super, super important. Unfortunately, a lot of times, students have difficulty trying to figure out what shells to play, remembering them, all of that. That's why we apply it to standards. Next thing, rootless chords. This is a huge one. This really gives you kind of like that Bill Evans, jazz piano sound. That's a super jazzy sound. You can see that we could do it, where it's written, or we can also do it up an octave, play that melody up an octave. I'm going to explain all of that in the lessons as well, so you don't have to worry about knowing what it is you should or should not be doing. I'm going to cover all of that for you. Next one, bassline. So, all right, we got the iReal Pro backing track, but let's say that we just want to be able to play the song just by ourselves and not have to worry about having a band in front of us, all right, or backing us up. All right, so we're going to talk about how this bass line is formed. You're going to start to understand how to create bass lines, but most importantly, you're actually going to play a bass line over standards. Not just one standard, but, well, plus 2, 12 standards, all right? So you're going to learn all of these concepts over a dozen standards, which is going to help you over the course of 2021 to really lock in the concepts. Then, comping, right? This one is huge. I mean, listen to how slick this sounds. The two-handed comping, that really elevates your playing to make it sound like a legit jazz musician. So we're going to break all of these concepts down. You're going to understand, what am I doing in the left hand? What am I doing in the right hand? Why am I doing it? But then also what's going to be really important is it's not just going to be a bunch of explanation, this is how we do it. You're actually going to do it, all right? So I'm going to break down each measure. You're going to see exactly what's going on so that then you can start to apply this to other standards. But hey, if you get stuck, don't worry. The next month, you're going to have another standard to work on. Oh, got stuck again? Don't worry. You're going to have another standard to work on. We're also going to be doing live training calls as well, so you're going to be able to ask me questions. You're going to be able to interact with me. So if you're stuck at any time, I'm always here to help you. Now, we're also going to be talking about improvisation, like I said, and I'm going to give you examples of how to take the Confident Improviser program at JAZZEDGE and incorporate those ideas into this standards by the dozen. So what you'll notice is you're going to start to get this linkage of, oh, okay, I'm working on the Confident Improviser, and now I'm doing standards by the dozen. Now it all starts to make sense until finally, you're getting to the point in which you're just going to be able to just sit down and right? Be able to sit down and improvise over a standard, right? So, I mean, that's one thing that I have heard from, students ask for time and time again. Well, this year is the year that you're going to finally be able to do it. Join me on Friday, January 15th, 1 o'clock Eastern time, right? And then I'm going to dive into some more details and give you more examples of, what we're going to be covering in the Standards by the Dozen. Just go back to jazzedge.com/SBTD, Standards by the Dozen, right? And then you can go ahead and register there. Like I said, there's absolutely no cost to register for this training. It's absolutely free. Okay, so if you're interested in learning your standards this year and actually being able to improvise, do those rootless voicings, comp, do bass lines, like really just bring it all together, right? At the end of 21, you're going to have 12 standards that you're going to be able to play with a group, play solo, improvise over, do bass lines, get your comping down, do rootless chords. I mean, it's just jam-packed with stuff. So if you're interested, join me by just registering, putting in your name and email address right at that website. You'll probably also see a link below this video as well. Or if you're on the page, just scroll down and you'll see where you can put in your name and email address. All right, that's it from me. Thanks, guys, for joining me, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in that training session.